Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good Friday. Just thought I'd give my some thoughts on the vaccine and the news this week. I apologise if you watched the last video and the sound was a little off, probably a little over exuberant about Trump's defeat, and I've not got anyone doing a sound check here for me. I've got basic equipment here. There's no other people. It's just me. So so yeah, um, you know, it is sad we have reached this grim milestone of 50,000 deaths. And I do remember at the start of the pandemic, I wrote that although anyone who knows me will know I've never voted Conservative, I wanted the government to succeed because it is above politics, it's above left or right. This is people's lives, and I really wanted the government to do a good job. And unfortunately, they haven't. And I'm not saying it was an incredibly difficult challenge that they faced and they continue to face, but there has been some major missteps, and we are the first country in Europe to pass 50,000 deaths from COVID, which is tragic. And I remember when Boris Johnson became ill with COVID and got the message through on my phone saying that he'd been taken to intensive care. And I remember I felt really. It's strange when you hear of these numbers on the news. You don't often make a connection because you don't know these people. Even though I was seeing on Twitter at the time, you could see the sort of personal experiences of people who've got COVID or have recently lost family members to COVID. So you did get through social media. I did get some kind of grip of what was going on and the loss that people were facing. But I suppose with Boris Johnson, because he's someone who has been in the media since I first saw him on Have I Got News for You in the mid-90s, and so I suppose you feel there's some kind of you know the person to a degree as much as you can with any politician who's a sort of serial liar and a bit of a charlatan. I felt there was some connection there, and I do remember I'll be honest, I actually prayed for him that night. I prayed for him to get better, because as much as I think he's a serial liar, fairly incompetent as Prime Minister, I don't think he's a good Prime Minister. But I didn't want him to die. I've never wished any physical harm upon him. And I did think of his family, and I thought of just what a blow it would be to the morale of the nation were we to lose the Prime Minister to COVID-19, because he is the Prime Minister. And, thankfully he pulled through. Doesn't mean I don't think I'd prefer someone else as Prime Minister. I think Keir Starmer would be doing a better job. I also think there are many Tory MPs who would be doing a better job, even though I've never voted that colour. But anyway, I continue to hope that they can improve the job they're doing. And but it's not just government; it's complex. It's people's behaviour. It's the fact that our economy is set up as such a tourism hub and an aviation hub. We've got so many people coming in and out, and I think we haven't managed that process well enough in terms of checking people's temperatures and so forth at airports. So I think there's many things, there's many factors involved, but I think the government has certainly could have done significantly better. But anyway, good news, the vaccine. I'm very pleased about that. That's some fantastic news. And, it's something that's this company BioNTech in Germany. It seems that it's founded by the children of Turkish migrants to Germany. So that's fantastic what, can be achieved by people who come across and, change countries. And so it is sad that we're ending freedom of movement. It's continuing in Europe, but we're not part of it anymore, because who knows what talent we'll be missing out on in the scientific field and many other fields by people who won't be able to come to the UK or be put off by the process of coming here because of how they see us maybe as foreigners not as welcome as they once were, which is unfortunate. But still, it's great news on the virus. And I was watching the other night, I'm sure a lot of you were seeing Wolf Hall, the TV adaptation of the trilogy of books by Hilary Mantel. And in that, it shows how Thomas Cromwell became ill with sweating sickness. And just thinking about, you read up on how many pandemics we've gone through, and this is why, this nonsense about this all being planned. I mean, this is just happened so much throughout human history. The sweating sickness, it seems the first outbreak was in 1485, and they had outbreaks came and went throughout this time until 1551, and then it disappeared. And to this day, no scientist knows exactly what it was or what caused it. There are theories that it was a type of hantavirus, but still they don't exactly know because it's not around anymore. It just seemed to die out. But this sweating sickness, or the English sweats as it was called, it killed people within a day. You could get chills in the morning, you're sweating by the evening, evening, and dead by midnight, and that's frightening, because it was distinct from the plague in that sense. Plague was awful, but it lasted longer. As sweating sickness killed people within a day. So and then we've had. It's also thought that Henry VIII's coronation was a super spreader event. It was kind of the Donald Trump rally of the day, and I'm sure there's probably some similarities, probably have similarly sized egos, but it's thought that Henry VIII's coronation in London was where the sweating sickness spread even further. And if you think back then, they were dealing with plague. The Black Death was continuing as well. There was the main one in the 13th century, but in the 14th and 15th century, it kept sort of returning. So they were dealing with that. They're dealing with typhus, tuberculosis. You wonder, how did anyone live through those times or, make it? It's amazing, because medicine was in its infancy. They didn't know what was causing it. It's just horrendous compared to at least the tools we have now and understanding, being able to see viruses. They had no idea what viruses were then, obviously. So, yeah, it's amazing. And if you think with vaccines, I've tried to talk to, anti-vaxxers on Facebook, rather futile, but the smallpox virus, it's estimated in the 20th century that killed between 3 and 500 million people just in the 20th century. And through vaccination programs, we're able to eliminate it. And there is now only smallpox virus only exists now in secure labs. I think it's at the CDC in America, in Atlanta, and in Moscow, in these 2 level 4 biosecurity labs. They're the only smallpox viruses that exist now on the earth. And obviously they could just incinerate them, and maybe they should, but they're thinking they should hang on to them in case they have some sort of scientific use in the future, or, maybe for more, worse ends, but who knows. But it's been eradicated in humans, and if you see pictures of people who suffered with smallpox and what it did to people's skin, it's just horrendous, the pictures of someone suffering from smallpox, and that killed a lot of people, far higher fatality rate than coronavirus. So that was through vaccination. So I sometimes think with this pandemic, plandemic people, it's like they're using technology to spread these ideas. The very way I'm talking to you now through this phone and through the internet, this has all come off the back of discoveries by scientists, the same discipline that they're now saying are sort of planning to take over the world and destroy our brains. And it is kind of strange that so much of the country we're kind of celebrating the people, well, I am, and I think a lot of people are, that this breakthrough with this vaccine. But there's a certain swathe of the country that's like, oh my God, the Bill Gates, the nanotechnology is going to get into my brain, and, all this stuff. It's like, it's just madness. But it's technology that's helping to spread it. And I sometimes think, well, why are you using phones? Maybe phones were meant to control you. It's like, this science is the greatest discipline we have for finding empirical evidence and building on it and going, okay, I think this is going to happen. What happened? Okay, it didn't happen. Why didn't that happen? And actually testing this stuff. And, I believe in this vaccine. I don't believe it's got, it's nanobots inside it to control me. I think that's absolute nonsense. But there's a certain swathe of the British population have said they will not take this vaccine because of stuff they've read, mainly on social media. And that is a huge problem and something we've got to deal with. I also think that, there's no definitive where did this come from yet. We don't exactly know. My belief is that it did originate in one of these wet markets in China and other countries, not just China that have these, where they have so many different species caged up in close proximity. There's no, you could say, well, it's unnatural. Well, it does happen in nature. It's happening in human nature, but nowhere else in nature. There's no other species that gets all these different other species and cages them and sticks them together, so giving viruses the perfect opportunity to jump across species and get into humans. We've made it so easy for viruses to do this because of our behaviour. And I think it's going to be human behaviour, again, that gets us out of it. But I really think we've got to look at that how our relationship with animals, because I fully believe that's where this virus originated, those kind of markets. But so it's human behaviour that's caused it, and human behaviour, hopefully, that will be the salvation, and we can get back to some kind of normal life. So yeah, I'm really pleased about the development, and Dominic Cummings leaving by Christmas, that's another great development. And I see the Yorkshire Ripper died as well, so pretty good news. It's I hope everyone's well though, and it is, you know, I know it's our testing times in lockdown, but you know, things are looking up for next year. So I hope everyone stays well and has a good weekend. Take care.